This week, I want to talk about why you should consider buying this pre-built instead of building your own PC. So the Cooler Master NR Pro Mini ITX with a Ryzen 9800 X3D and then a 9070 XT GPU cost $1945.99 right now. And I know that it says 18 left in stock and more on the way. I'm hoping that this ends up sticking around for a little bit and that they end up restocking it and they keep this price, because this is phenomenal value for the money. And when we take a look at the pricing history for this, we see that it used to be $2,300. At that price, I don't think it makes that much sense. But for over a month now, it has been down at the $1949.99, or in our case, the $1945.99. And at that price, this thing should be considered if you were considering a high-end build on the AM5 platform. So first thing I want to do is take a look at the pricing of a similar build. So I went into PC Part Picker and I just picked parts that are very similar to the ones that we had in this PC. The GPU, the motherboard, and the CPU are all identical. And then I did my best with the other parts. And altogether, it ends up being $2309.31. And if we remember, that's almost exactly what the price of this PC normally is before its $350 discount. So you're straight up getting $350 off this price. And even if you were able to go through here and like min-max some stuff and maybe knock off $150, it's still going to be $200 cheaper to just buy the pre-built. And you end up getting basically the same performance. So in this video, we are going to go over the experience that I had buying this pre-built, and then I'm also going to compare it to a custom build PC I did in early September. So the unfortunate fact of the life is that if you'd wanted to build your own PC, early September would have been the time to do it. And me telling you that doesn't help you at all, because right now this build cost $2,222. And when I built this thing, it cost me $1,822. So this is straight up $400 more expensive than when I purchased it. And it was like a little bit over a month ago. So it's crazy how much pricing has just basically skyrocketed. And these current prices are insane to be paying, like I said, $400 more for the same PC that I have. So I don't think you should be building your own PC, but I do want to compare the performance of a custom built PC to just like the out of the box experience of the NR2 Pro Mini ITX. This is such good value when we have such elevated prices everywhere else. And the next thing that I want to get into this video is just overall comparing the specs between the pre-built and then the custom build that I made. And then I also want to talk about the warranty support that you're going to get, because that is going to be a huge thing to consider when buying a pre-built over buying a custom built PC. So let's get into the comparisons. In the hardware comparison, we can see the NR Pro pre-built on the left and the custom build on the right, and then the prices that I paid for both of these units under them. And this was before tax. So again, I purchased these things in September. Prices have gone absolutely crazy since then. My custom build, like I said, is now $400 more expensive, and it's $350 more expensive to build a comparable build to the NR2 Pro pre-built. So these are just an idea for you to see the components that you're getting at the price that you'd be paying for the NR2 pre-built. And then you can also just compare that to my custom build, because we will be doing a benchmark side by side between these two builds. Spoiler alert, they basically get the same performance. So the thing that I want you guys to focus on with these two comparisons is the CPU. So the 9800 X3D tray CPU versus the 9800 X3D PIB CPU, which is processor in box, is actually hugely important, because it's the difference between a 1-year warranty on the pre-built versus a 3-year warranty on the custom build. And we'll get into that into the warranty section, but that is something to be aware of. And then apart from that, the only big difference is that I was able to double my storage with a Samsung 990 EVO Plus 4TB. But let's take a look at the warranty information, because I think that's actually very important when purchasing a pre-built. And here we can see that you only get 1-year warranty for the 9800 X3D because it is a tray CPU. So I contacted AMD. They explained to me that companies can buy a bunch of CPUs and they'll be their tray CPUs. And basically that company is responsible for the warranty. Whereas if you're just a consumer and you're going on Amazon and you're buying a processor in box, so that's one where it would just come actually in a box from a retailer, you're going to get that 3-year warranty. So that's actually a pretty huge difference. And then when we take a look at the coolers, anything that has NA next to it, that's just basically like the company didn't get back to me, so I'm not able to clarify further. But for the Cooler Master components of the pre-built, they said that it'll be covered for a year, which that's, everything in the pre-built is covered for a year initially. And then after that, they didn't tell me how long each of those components would be covered. So I'm not totally sure. And then with the Peerless Assassin, I found 1 year, which I know that makes sense, but then some people were saying up to 6 years, which didn't make sense, and they never got back to me. So I'm not totally sure there. Both the Gigabyte motherboards have 5-year warranties. The Gigabyte Gaming OC actually has a 3-year warranty on the GPU versus the Power Color only has a 2, so that's a little bit of an upswing there. Lexar didn't get back to me on either of their things, so they'll for sure have the 1-year warranty that's covered by Cooler Master, and then after that, they never once replied to me, so that doesn't really bode well if they wouldn't reply to me when I'm a customer and I was sending them my serial number and stuff like that, trying to ask what my warranty coverage was, and they just completely ignored me. And I guess that's just something to be aware of. It's not the greatest customer support. And then with G.Skill, they have a limited lifetime. And then my Samsung Evo has a 5-year warranty, which is pretty nice. And then with the power supplies, again, Cooler Master didn't get back to me, so I don't know how long they're going to support it afterwards. But my Corsair supply does have a 7-year warranty. And then finally, the cases, again, I don't know exactly how much they'll support them after, but I know they at least have a year warranty. So those are the warranty comparisons. I think it's very important to consider these. But again, man, you're going to be paying $1945.99 is what the price currently was on Amazon for something that if you wanted to make a similar build, it would be $350 more expensive. So having a little bit less warranty coverage is maybe a little bit risky, but for the price savings you're getting, I think that it might be worth considering. And what I want to get into next is just the overall benchmark comparison so that you know that you are getting the same performance for a lot cheaper price. Getting into the benchmarks, I just wanted to do the benchmark summaries because I don't want to waste your guys' time, and they're very similar overall. So in the CPU benchmarks, these were 1080p results, mixed presets, and these games were Call of Duty Warzone at 1080p basic preset, Lords of the Fallen 1080p high preset, Hogwarts Legacy 1080p high preset, and Cyberpunk 2077 1080p high preset in Dogtown, and I also turned on high crowd density for that one. And as you can see, very similar results. I would chalk up the difference just to the NR2 Pro being a little bit more bloated, because the only difference between these is basically I didn't go through and optimize the build for the NR2 Pro, whereas the custom build it is, and they're running the same AMD graphics driver, the same Windows update, and the same power plan, and they both had Expo. It was really nice to see that the NR2 Pro had Expo enabled by default, and I didn't have to do that myself. And overall, very comparable results. And like I said, I think the difference is mainly due to the NR2 Pro having like more stuff as startup apps, more stuff running in the background versus my custom build. But let's check out the GPU results. And here we have the 4K results. So this is going to be Cyberpunk 2077 4K in the built-in benchmark. We have GTA Enhanced at 4K, high ray tracing preset in the benchmark. Then we have Forza Horizon 5 with the high preset, which adds medium ray tracing by default. And finally, we have Black Myth Wukong running at 4K with the medium preset. And as you can see here, a little bit of an edge to the pre-built, and it does have a slightly more powerful GPU, but overall, again, very similar results here. And finally, what I want to show you is why the RAM doesn't really matter that much. So here I have my custom build using my CL30 kit versus the CL38 kit that came in this pre-built. So this is the only variable difference is the RAM in my system. And we can see that it's almost identical performance, a little bit worse in the 1% and 0.1% lows, but they're getting very similar performance. And I don't think you should worry too much about it being a higher CAS latency kit because you're still getting basically the same performance. So now that we've seen that these pretty much perform exactly the same, but you are getting it for so much cheaper, let's just go into the overall experience. So I'm going to show how the product was packaged, what I liked and what I didn't like, some of the issues that I had with the product, and then whether or not I think this product makes sense to purchase and who it makes sense for. So getting into the packaging, we can see that it is a box within a box. So Amazon was the bigger box, and then the inside box came from Cooler Master. A little disappointing that Amazon didn't try to pack that void with anything just to keep stuff a little bit more safe. And they didn't mark that box as being fragile either, which is a little bit annoying, but pretty typical. When we take a look at the actual box from Cooler Master, we see that it's labeled fragile and looks good. And then when we take a look inside, we can see that there's foam supporting it and that it's very tightly packed. taking everything out, you can see that you get the motherboard case, the PC, and then an accessories case. This is what's inside the accessories and the motherboard case, which is good to see you have those. And then we have a quick start guide, which I love to see anytime I get something like this. And when we take out all that stuff, we can see that they have a lot of stuff to help you be successful with your initial boot. Looking at the PC, also very well packed. On the right, we have the tempered glass. I would never use this because it's just going to choke your GPU because it's vertically mounted, and you're going to want to use the panel that comes with it, which is this one with airflow. And then we take that off, we see that there's some more foam, and then inside of there, we end up seeing the GPU with a lot of stuff supporting it, which is good to see. But when I took all of that out, you do see that it leans a little bit, and it for sure had a bent PCIe bracket a little bit, which is kind of disappointing. I would have thought the foam would have helped more. And then when we really look at the GPU, this texturing, not really sure if this is supposed to be like that, but that's what it looked like. And then this is the back side of the case. And then when we take the side panel off the back, we can see the cable management looks really good, and it's overall very clean looking, and they have the power supply in the right way. This is the back. The only reason I showed this is because if you look at the bottom left, it's flared out a little bit, and the panels just weren't super sturdy. They were a little bit flimsy feeling, which is, I don't really know if it's just because the panels have more airflow now than the original NR200, but they're a lot more flimsy than my original NR200. And then finally, we have the first boot with the PC with the RGB RAM just looking absolutely maniacal in the back, man. So bright and unnecessary. But everything booted up, no problem first time. So regarding things that I had issues with, like damage or stuff like that, we talked about the PCIe bracket being bent and then the warped side panels. Other things that I want to mention that I had issues with, there's a Type-C USB up front, and on that one for my unit, I had power out, but nothing could connect to it, and it also wouldn't have data transfer or anything like that. It just would turn devices on or charge devices, but it wasn't actually functioning in the way the Type-C should function. Additionally, I also had the BIOS port on the back. Typically, these work when the PC is in Windows and you just can use it as a BIOS flashback if you're trying to do that. But this should just work as a USB when I'm running Windows, and mine didn't work at all. I didn't get power out or data transfer or anything like that. Additionally, some software related things. Man, there's something in this PC software that loads the most aggressive fan curve in your Adrenaline software. So even though I used DDU uninstaller, I installed the latest drivers at the time, and I made sure that those matched for all of the comparison data. Bro, it would just override the fan curve with this obnoxious fan curve. It's so annoying, and I don't know why I did that. It wasn't a GPU thing. I put this GPU into a different system, and I didn't have any of those issues. So it definitely wasn't the GPU. This was something wrong with the actual software choosing to do this, and I'm not totally sure why it was doing that. So that's something to be aware of. But the only thing that was more annoying than the crazy aggressive fan tuning from there was if you go into the BIOS, you can modify the PT_fan, and bro, that fan's normal curve is crazy, dude. So aggressive, just ramps up. It's a tiny fan too, so it's so loud. One of the first things you should do if you get this PC is go into the BIOS, make sure that your RAM is running at 6,000, and then go into the PT_fan and just change it to silent. It's not going to kill any of your parts. If the parts end up hitting 60 degrees Celsius, it'll still go to 100%, which is the same as the normal setting. It's just going to be a way better fan sound for 99% of your time. But because I wanted this to be like an out-of-the-box experience, I left it at normal, and bro, it's so loud. It's so unnecessarily loud. Doesn't make any sense. Regarding the enabling 6,000 on your memory, it was enabled, but it was XMP. So I may have misspoke earlier. It was not the Expo setting. It was XMP instead, which is a little weird because there was an Expo setting. So I still got the 6,000. It was still stable. I didn't have any issues, but mine had XMP instead of Expo, which I thought was a little weird. And then the last three things that I just want to remind you of, these are the hardware limitations, what you're getting when you purchase this. You are getting a tray CPU, so it's still going to have all the performance of a 9800X3D. You're only going to get 1 year warranty instead of 3. You are getting 6,000 CL38 RAM, which, as I showed in those previous benchmarks, you're not actually going to see that big of a performance difference. And then probably one of the most disappointing things, and the things that you wouldn't really think would be the case, is the PCIe riser cable is a 4.0. So you basically have a GPU that is going to be 5.0 times 16. And then you also have a motherboard that's going to have a 5.0 times 16 slot. But then the actual PCIe riser cable is going to bottleneck all of that to 4.0 times 16. So a little bit disappointing. And that's why I know that this case is just an NR2 Pro V2, because that's exactly what you get. They just painted it a different color because you get the exact same PCIe 4 riser cable, a glass side panel, and the same sides as this case with the Type-C charger. And it's just, you can get black or white instead of this gunmetal gray. And bro, to be honest, these are all renders. I know that this maybe looks like it could be a real PC. These are all renders. This is not what the PC looks like. If you remember what my pictures look like, they don't look nearly this cool. If you want to actually go to the website and see what the pictures look like of it actually in real life, it looks way more like this color. You know, if you look back at my pictures of it, it looks like this. It is not nearly as metallic looking. Like in all of these pictures, man, they try to make it look so good. Like, look at how good that color is. That looks metallic and awesome. But in actuality, it's like, it's just like gray, bro. It's like not even that good. I think the black case looks way better in my opinion. But that's just something to be aware of as well. Overall, I still think for $1,945.99, this PC makes sense. And who I think it makes sense for is someone that already can build a PC. Because I think there might be some troubleshooting stuff. I did try to reseat like the Type-C to see if that fixed it. I tried to do some stuff to fix the USB in the back. But I think that if you bought this PC, the first thing that you should do is just reinstall Windows on it. Get rid of all the bloat. Get it back to just a good baseline where you know everything on it is necessary. You load the drivers you want, you get it going, and then I think you will have probably no issues. But if you're planning on just running this thing out of the box the way it comes from Cooler Master, you might run into some weird issues. That being said, they did seem like they were going to be able to help you out with those quick start guides and then the customer support. So that's definitely an option that you can go down. But overall, I would recommend this PC for somebody that already wanted to build a PC, but doesn't want to spend crazy prices like $2,300 on this when it's not on sale, $2,300 on a comparable build from PC Part Picker, or $2,222 for a build that is, like I said, $400 more expensive from what I paid like a little bit over a month ago. So it's unfortunate that building your own PC seems this hard in November 2025, but you are getting a lot of the things that you want from this PC. You're getting all of the power supply cables. You're getting all of the stuff that you would get with the motherboard plus the motherboard box. You're getting an actual like real GPU that's not like a OEM GPU that's weird and doesn't have like as good warranty. You're getting the full 3-year warranty from Gigabyte, getting the full 5-year warranty on the motherboard. Overall, I think it's worth it, man. I think for this price, it makes sense. If it goes back up to $2,300, don't do it. It doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe just wait. I don't really know. If you waited from last month, it was a mistake. But those are my recommendations. Those are my thoughts. Overall, I don't think anything is too crazy of a fail on this build. I think that overall, if you know how to build a PC, you know how to troubleshoot, this thing is worth it to buy. And overall, I can recommend it for people that are already pretty computer savvy. But that's all I had for this video. Next week, I'm going to take my custom build and I'm going to nerf it. So I'm going to ASRock this system. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take the motherboard and the video card and I'm going to replace them with ASRock parts. So the cheapest ITX motherboard you can get right now is the ASRock B850i Lightning for $170. And then the only MSRP card that's currently available for the 9070 XT is the ASRock Challenger. And I'm going to shove both of these into my system. It's only going to save me like $30 each, so $60 total off of my original build. And it is a huge downgrade. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate it. I've been running it already. Spoiler alert, I don't like it. But I'm going to run it because I want to see how this motherboard does. And I want to see, how the ASRock Challenger is. So next week's video is just going to be me comparing this build to the nerfed version, which is with a cheap motherboard that's definitely going to kill my CPU at some point in time. Hopefully it doesn't, but it might. And then an MSRP ASRock Challenger 9070 XT. So if you want to see that, that'll be next week. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope that the review was helpful to anybody that's thinking about buying or building a PC with how expensive products are. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.